Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Category of Best Art Direction.
The Last of Us Part 3.
For Best Score in Music,
The Last of Us Part 3.
the Best Audio Design nominees are
The Last of Us Part 3.
Innovation and Accessibility.
The Last of Us Part 3.
For Best Action Game,
The Last of Us Part 3.
Best Game Direction.
The Last of Us Part 3.
Tune in live for a global celebration of.
The Last of Us Part 3.
We'll see you then.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and I hope you're as excited as I am by this title because everyone knows the world wants more Abby. If there was a character that was universally loved during The Last of Us Part 2, it was Abby. Everyone loved Abby, especially when she brutally removed one of the most loved character of the game with a golf club. It's one of the best moments in video game history. And don't take my word for it. Just look at all the amazing awards it won. Last of Us 2 picked up 300 out of a possible 576 Game of the Year awards in 2020. Putting it as one of the most acclaimed games in history. Now, I don't know anybody who could deny that The Last of Us Part 2 was the best game in history, simply because we have data now. It's not like journalists would be awarding a progressive-led game that matched their own progressive politics. It's not like game journalists have ever been questioned in terms of their credibility or morals. It's not like games journalists have ever been questioned for being ethical. No, no, no. The Last of Us 2 is objectively basically the best game in history. Now, there's no denying that the graphics of The Last of Us Part 2 were a great, really maximized what you could get out of that current gen of consoles. And the game sold millions of copies. I can't sit here and pretend that the game didn't sell tens of millions of copies. And arguably, I would say that was built off the back of The Last of Us 1. Well, The Last of Us. I'll be curious to see what The Last of Us 3 does in terms of sales, because I'd be willing to bet it's going to take a giant step back. Remember, most fans of video games don't spend all day online reading all this stuff that we're talking about. They just buy the game, right? So what happens when they buy the game, and they're not aware of all the leaks and all the press, is they do what gamers do. We play the game, and then they get horribly disappointed. But see, they can't unbuy the game. So really, the success of The Last of Us 2 was multifaceted, built off the back of the great success of The Last of Us, huge press, and the entire force of games media telling everyone that it was the best game in history. Although there were more than a dozen games, I would say, on PlayStation 4 that were better. But that said, I'm not an ethical games journalist, so who could possibly say, now remember, The Last of Us 2, one of the worst reviewed games in history. It caused Metacritic. I wonder if they've even... now, Thunder Force is obviously going to be pretty bad too, but if we look at The Last of Us 2, they basically froze reviews because the game was so poorly reviewed. And games media, of course, came out and said, well, it's just because, gamers are misogynists, right? That's what everyone said. But ultimately, there's no denying that a lot of people did not like the game. I don't know why it's not working, but it's not. We all remember. But now we have excellent news, everybody. Good news. The Last of Us 3 has a plot outline, but it isn't being made just yet. Of course, it's going to be made. Why wouldn't you? This game was a dominant success. I would expect Last of Us 3 to come out somewhere near the end of the life cycle of the PlayStation 5, or in probably 3 years. 3 or 4 years, but it's tough to say because these games take a long time to create. we can look no further than the Cyberpunk 2077 debacle that, most people will at least agree that the game needed a lot more polish before being released. I still haven't played it through because I want the game to be crisp. I want the game to work right. I'd already waited 3 or 4 years in my mind, even though it was in development much longer. So it didn't matter. It doesn't matter to me that I'll play it through this Christmas. But now we know there's quite a bit of discussion going on at Naughty Dog. The Last of Us 3 has a basic plot outline, creative director Neil Druckmann said. Speaking on the Script Apart podcast with fellow co-writer Haley Gross, Druckmann revealed that there's been quite a lot of discussion with developer Naughty Dog and The Last of Us 3. Quote, "I don't know how much I want to reveal," Haley, is it Haley? Said, "and I did write an outline for the story that we're not making. But I hope one day it can see the light of day that explores a little bit of what happens after the game. We now have had 2 games that I feel speak to something universal, as well as telling a very personal story for those characters." Druckmann continued. "With 2 games now, there's starting to be a pattern. Now I feel like there are some structural and thematic themes that you'd have to stick to if you're making the 3rd game. After we finish one of our big titles, we take a long time to explore different ideas. And whether it's going to be The Last of Us 3, it will be. Whether it's something new, whether it's something old, we'll want to go back to. I fully explore all of those." I mean, when you're publicly traded and you have investors, you don't make the games that you want to make. You make the games that make money. And it's going to be hard to convince people that, that want a return on their investment, that making another Last of Us game. That's why we get so many remakes and remasters. They're relatively low cost to produce and they're high profit margin. People are talking about it being focused on Abby, which is awesome. I can't wait, like legitimately. You can see here, it seems that Naughty Dog is currently exploring what to do next. I mean, recent reports suggest that Naughty Dog, or at least was, working on a standalone Last of Us multiplayer game, a new Uncharted project, and a full remake of the original The Last of Us. Why would you remake that game? I don't know. Nobody wants that remade. The game actually holds up pretty decently. I guess if you're picking Uncharted, I could see them working on that. But with the upcoming HBO series, I'm not exactly sure that you'd want to miss out on riding this wave. They did actually have a movie in the works, just reported too. The movie adaptation of The Last of Us fell apart because there was too much focus on big action set pieces that did not suit the story, according to Neil Druckmann. Talking to Script Apart, Druckmann said, "When I worked on the movie version, a lot of the thinking and notes were, how do we make it bigger? How do we make the set pieces bigger?" Druckmann did not point fingers as to who in the studio system provided those notes, but he said that the approach was responsible for the film's downfall. It didn't work for The Last of Us, and I think that's ultimately why the movie wasn't made. Well, I actually respect Neil Druckmann here. Here's a personal anecdote that a lot of people don't know. I basically, railed on Neil, during the whole set, whole rollout of The Last of Us 2, starting from the leaks until the release and the subsequent fallout afterwards. But Neil showed real grace and kindness when I made a video about having my dog Indy of 14 years pass. He said some very nice things to me that he obviously didn't have to. So I have to now, for the future, take it a little easy on Neil Druckmann. On the personal stuff. That doesn't mean I'm not going to laugh. I absolutely want The Last of Us 2 television show to be hilariously bad. I would love, if The Last of Us 3 came out and it was, the adventures of Abby. I don't know. I think if you continue, you see, where are they going to take Ellie and Abby next? Probably to the gym. Probably to rewrite some reviews. Maybe Abby's going to go visit the 3. The scene at the end of Jay and Silent Bob. They're going to send Abby to go pummel any of the people that gave the game bad reviews. There's a lot of storylines I think that you could see in The Last of Us Part 3. And I would love all of them. That was one of the most fun times reporting on video games that I've had. other than the Diablo Immortal debacle, which was hilarious. So, hey, I'm here for it. I'm pumped. Get The Last of Us 3 out there. Give me all the details. I'm excited for it. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.